Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Welcome back. Another edition of Leaders Lead, Winners Win. We talk about leadership. We talk about winning. We talk about sales. It's what we do. Promises kept. Super important stuff. If you make a promise, you got to keep the promise.
Yep.
One of the promises I made was I was going to bring the guests on the show, people that have done shit with their lives, people that are really good at what they do, people that are creating and busting up dogmatic, shitty industries, which we're going to get to.
Yep.
I got a treat for you today. Promises kept. I have a male model. I'm just kidding. He's a really good looking gentleman in front of
Thank
me.
you.
Former Marine. Okay.
Yep.
U of A grad. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
That's how we kind of met.
Did you go to ASU?
I went to ASU.
You did, okay.
For a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Never graduated.
Yeah.
But I was studying kinesiology. You studied physiology, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in that industry.
Yeah.
A lot of people that went to U of A and ASU, they got a degree or they pursued something and they're not even in anything that has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But you went there with Chris Boats.
I did, yeah.
Who is a co-host with us
Okay.
here on Unboxed.
That was
That's how
his
we
trainer.
met. You were his trainer.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Okay, so a former U of A grad, or U of A grad, a former Marine, a medical device sales guy for 6 years now, 7 years?
Yeah,
How long have you
so
been in
I'm
the industry?
So over 6 years. So
Okay.
I started in device, in orthopedics. I work in oncology diagnostics now.
Okay,
Yep.
and now, not only, but one of the reasons why you're here, the CEO and founder of Checkmate.
Yep.
Let's
Co-founder.
give a round of applause, Mr. Edward Dix, folks. Yes, Edward Dix.
Let's go. Eddie.
Call him Dix, whatever you want
Big
to call
Ed.
him.
Daddy.
Daddy E.
There you go.
Big Daddy. What was the rave Daddy?
Rave Daddy.
Rave Daddy.
Yep.
That's another thing. Anyways,
One of
welcome
my
in, dude.
aliases. Thank
Welcome
you.
in.
Yeah, thanks for
dude.
having me.
What's up, man? Let's catch up. What's going on?
Man, I'm just
You
working.
looking tan?
I do look tan.
You do look tan.
Yeah, I've been
what
to
are
Mexico,
you doing?
Mexico one too many times.
A world traveler? I
Yep.
forgot to add that to his
Yep.
resume. You're always out and about, dude.
Yeah.
I remember when you went to, was it Yacht Week?
Yacht Week.
With
yeah.
Lowry and those guys? That
Yeah.
looks super fucking fun.
Dude, that was such a funny trip.
Yeah.
Because Lowry was such a last minute addition. And I just texted him. He's like, yeah, let's go.
Well,
I was
I'm
like,
in.
wow, that was the easiest sale ever.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you have a travel bug, like an itch just to travel, or what's your deal?
well, I think, so my sister lives in London.
Okay.
She's like a senior director for Varde Partners. So what is that, like venture capitalist?
Sure. Okay.
And so so my sister, absolute stud, right? Went to Wharton,
Okay.
went to Phillips Andover, and works in
Just
the,
like
the finance field. Yeah, so I've
collegiate,
always looked up to her.
astute
She's just
human.
constantly traveling, just killing it in her field. Has this beautiful house in London, and so just seeing all the places that she's traveled,
Yeah.
I've tried to kind of mirror that.
Sure. Okay.
So even growing up, right? My mom, breadwinner of the household.
Yeah.
Just the head of her department. She was a teacher. So always been inspired by strong, influential women. So
Yeah.
my sister's my best friend. Look
That's
up to
awesome,
her a lot.
dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, where'd you grow up?
Right outside of Boston.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, were you born in Massachusetts in MA?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And then where have you been since?
Oh man, I've been everywhere.
I know, I figured you everywhere. Obviously, as a Marine
Yeah.
too, you travel a lot, but
So I went to boarding school in 7th grade in New Hampshire. Went to prep school my whole life, just around Massachusetts.
Okay.
And then, so I really left the state when I joined the Marines. First duty station was Japan.
okay.
Then
Did you see what is it, the cherry blossoms?
Yeah, I
Is it a
did.
thing?
Cherry
Okay,
Blossom
cool.
Festival.
Looks
It's
pretty-
incredible.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
That was super cool living in another country.
Yeah.
And then came back. I put in my early out because I got into college. And so they were like,
Oh, you did it. Okay, cool. I didn't know did you right out of high school you went into
yeah, I
Marines?
went right out of high school.
Got you. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
so right out of high school, I was going to play Division II hockey. But
Yeah.
then you're faced with that dilemma. You're like, okay, should I be a nobody in hockey, never go to the NHL and,
Yeah.
be a turd the rest of my
Yeah.
life? Or should I do something awesome? So I was like, let's go the Marine route.
I love it.
Great decision, right? So, yeah, I put in my early out because I got into college. And so I tried to go to Pendleton. And they were like, oh, you want to get out of the Marines? No. We're going to put you in Yuma, Arizona.
Oh, shit.
So I had to go to Yuma. And that's actually why I went to U of A.
Oh, 'cause it's down that way.
I would escape there on the weekends. And I was like, this place is great.
Dude, I used to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I played football at Mesa Community and walked on ASU. That was eons ago, but
Yeah.
and then never really finished. I got hurt, dude. I ended up getting injured at ASU, and the scholarship was gone, and I was like, I'm done. I lost my identity. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do because I played football up until that point. But long and short, we used to go down before I went to ASU. We went to, so right after season, we would go down and watch the last few games of the U of A football. So it was cool because that whole strip of grass,
the mall,
is insane, dude.
Yeah.
So we used to go there. We used to just drive up an hour and a half from Phoenix or Mesa, wherever we were living at the time, and just go have a blast. We loved it.
Yeah.
Such a good time.
One of my clients, did you ever see the double-decker bus?
Yes.
Yeah, so he owned that bus.
Okay.
So I'd always get like invited to the tailgates, but that was such a cool experience going to like a Pac-12 school like that.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like
Yeah,
back in I would have graduated 2012. What year did you graduate U of A?
2017.
Okay, cool. So a little after, but right when we were going, that's when like Dennis Dixon was playing, and like Oregon was hot, and it was crazy, and like just Chip Kelly, and dude, it was really, really cool time. Yeah. But we had a really, really good time going up there and having just a fucking blast. We would go with all the medical students. The clinic is what they used to call it. I've never seen, speaking of medical, this is the transition.
Yeah.
I've never seen people drink more than a group of medical students, whether it be in graduate school, in the medical school. Most of them drink so much beer and just totally get away with it because everybody knew everything about anatomy and physiology and they were running IVs the next morning.
Yeah.
What we went to, so Travis Hughes, orthopedic surgeon down at U of A now, one of the best in the country. He's a fucking stud. Tyler Hughes, his brother, he's my best friend. Long and short, he used to run the clinic. He used to run the tailgates down there. And we would take his Dodge truck. I'll never forget this. And we'd go to the Safeway off, was that Speedway or whatever right there? You know what I'm talking about? And we would get 130 packs. We would clean out the whole place, put him in the back of his truck, and his truck was like this all the way down the grass mall, and then we just would disseminate. But it was incredible. It was an incredible thing. Anyways.
Medical students are like a different breed. And it's funny, like I studied physio, right? That's like pre-med.
Sure.
So everyone is like, oh, they go into college like, I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, you know what? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
When it becomes real, you're like,
dude, I literally, no joke. I don't think a lot of people know this, but I my 2 associate's degrees in kinesiology, and I was going to go down the chiropractic route, and I had not full ride, but I had a partial scholarship, and then I was going to pay my way to go to Life University in Georgia, to go be a chiropractor. And they had like a fast track program, and you get your bachelor's through that, and then you get your doctorate in chiropractic. And they also had a badass rugby team. Like they were number 1 in Division 1 above everybody else. At the time when I was going to go, I was just going to go try and go play.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. Went to Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans back in the day, and now the rest is history. But
so you got hurt in football, and then the safer route was rugby?
Yeah, the safer route.
Yeah.
No helmet.
Yeah.
Fuck it, right?
Yeah, you'll be good.
Drinking beer and running around without a helmet and hitting each other. It used to be called, we won't go there. Anyways, sales. Let's talk about sales.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. Your sales is a little bit different than mine. Mine's direct to consumer. You've done business to business, or at least the end user is the consumer. But however, obviously the device is being used by the medical professional, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
What are maybe some things that you see in the business to business or sales world as compared to the consumer to direct, or how do you see kind of what's going on in that space right now?
Well, I mean, insurance kind of controls everything, right?
Okay. In your space specifically.
In our space specifically, right?
Yeah.
And so like when I'm prepping for a call, right, just trying to gather that information, figure out Ironwood Cancer Center, what insurance providers do they take?
Yeah.
Would I even be able to get business from them? So, I mean, what happens, like say they order, so I work in diagnostics, right? So tissue and blood testing. So a big institution like that, like if a physician tried to order from me and it's not covered through the patient's insurance, it's going to get denied. So like the doctor gets a bill or the patient gets a bill.
That's annoying.
It just ruins your whole relationship,
Sure.
right? And so it's kind of interesting because the pre-call planning aspect behind that is just, it's so critical.
Okay.
Right.
So there's a lot of prep work that goes into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you need to know exactly who you're calling on and whether or not your lab will get reimbursed, because there's really nothing that's like forcing the patients to pay or the doctors to pay.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So
aside from maybe it hitting their credit later on or whatever the case is.
I think the statistic is like 1 in every 3 solid tumor cases you actually get reimbursement for.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So 33% of them.
Yeah.
Dude, I was talking with a credit repair guy because we have to deal with that in our business, and the mortgage industry is our industry. So I was talking to him about medical collections. So long and short, I have this really shitty health insurance that I got through a broker. Okay, when you start a company, you got to figure it out.
Yeah,
you're going to go through that with check rep. When you're going through this, you got to figure out who has your best interest and doesn't, and who actually has a product that's viable. So I trusted this human being.
Yeah,
they gave us access to what we thought was United Healthcare. Was not. It was called Golden Rule Insurance. And maybe they listened and they reach out to me, which is fine. Maybe not. I don't think so.
Was that like private payer?
It was fucking terrible, dude.
Yeah.
Every place that I've been to, they're like, you're out of network. It's so I went and got my blood drawn because that's what 33-year-old people do. They take a look at T levels and cholesterol and all of everything because we want to be healthy people that lived until we're 140 years old.
Yeah.
With the advances of modern science and our high level income, I think we can get to 140, 150, baby. Yeah. But anyways, I got my blood drawn, and usually it's like $700-800, whatever it is.
Yeah.
With insurance, it was $2,800.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck happened? Long and short, I was talking to a guy because I was like, I'm going to pay this bill, whatever the case is. I just got this bill for this medical stuff. And he's like, fuck that. Don't pay him. Never going to hit your credit. And if it does, I'll get it off. I'm like, Jesus, is this how the medical insurance world is that how this whole thing works? Anyways, it was neither here nor there, but it was really interesting to me.
The average person isn't going to like read through their insurance manual before they go to the ER and urgent care, right? Yeah. So especially they're just going to go right, and it's almost like that's kind of like what they want you to do, right? You're in some sort of emergency, you got to go get blood drawn, do something, you go and do it, and then they're like, oh, we don't have to pay for this, like this is on you, like you didn't check. You didn't get prior authorization. And you're just like, why do I have medical insurance? Like, what does my insurance actually cover?
Right. You don't have a referral.
Right. What? It's just, and it's just this really complicated process that's not clear to anybody unless you're an insurance expert.
Yeah.
But
do you think that the insurance is going to change? It changes with politics, or how do you see that? Because you've seen different sides. You've seen obviously Trump in office, and then you've seen Biden in office. What changes have you seen in the medical industry, specifically medical device sales, or anything that you've seen there?
So, like that statistic I said, right? 1 in every 3 tests is actually like reimbursed. So it's kind of interesting because the more that you're charging patients, the less insurance actually has to pay.
Okay.
So what I've noticed, like especially being in the medical field, is that like if companies aren't getting reimbursed for test, it's going to increase their cost to sell, which means that people like me need to go out and sell more product to make up for that deficit, right?
Gotcha.
So this isn't like the number one cause, but it is a contributing factor.
Sure.
When companies are increasing their cost to sell, right, that means insurance companies are getting a higher bill. So they're going to raise their premiums, right, to make up for that gap of like how much they're paying out. And so the system is very, I don't want to say it's broken, right? But it's very flawed.
Some broken windows.
It's very flawed.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And honestly, like even me working in the medical industry for almost 7 years, there's a lot of these questions I can't even answer because I don't even know, Yeah,
it's interesting too because I've said this forever, but where there's mystery, there's margin.
Yeah.
And this healthcare industry in general is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and there's a lot of unknowns.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and it's the same thing in our world, man. Like, people don't really understand how credit works. Yeah. I lend money. So if they don't understand what a soft credit pull versus a hard credit pull is, or they think that their FICO because their bank or freecreditreport.com or what is it called, Credit Karma, told them it is an 800, then I pull it and it's a 640, what that difference is in pricing on the loan. And the reality is that difference in pricing on the loan is to the lender, right? Because it's all about risk-based lending. So ultimately, if you have a 640 FICO, your rate's going to be higher, which means rate of interest. Interest is what you pay to the bank. And so are your closing costs because, again, where there's mystery, there's margin. People don't know that, one. And then there's a lot of arbitrage. And it's also like who's holding all the cards. And in your world, it's the medical professionals, or at least the insurance companies.
Yeah. Or
And then for us, it's the lender.
Yeah, like who the physicians are in contract with.
100%,
medical.
dude. Exactly. Mystery, there's margin, dude.
Yeah, that's very true.
As far as sales in general, because I want to give the people, because you're a good salesperson, dude. You've been kicking ass you've been kicking ass for 6 years in your industry, and all I've seen is you, one, traveling a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And to the people that are listening, the guys that are traveling a lot are fucking busting their ass up until that point. They're not like working a couple days a week and living this lavish lifestyle and traveling and doing all these things. If you're going to be nomadic in nature and you're going to be traveling quite a bit, that means when you're here and you're working, which is really cool. So you've developed a lot over those 6 years.
Yeah.
What makes a good sales rep? What have you seen make good sales reps? What have you seen? Maybe some things that you would change or give advice on from bad sales reps. What do you think about that?
So that's a really good question. So I think like the number one thing that at least like newer sales reps, the number one mistake that they make is one, it's like their intention, right? What's my intention for being a medical sales rep?
Sure.
Oh, like they make a lot of money, right? But you don't see the whole other side of medical sales reps who are just like struggling every day, like barely hitting quota, right? So their intention going into the job is like, oh, I want to sell product and make money. And so what happens is they get in this mindset where they work for a lab and therefore they're an employee.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, they're not setting themselves up for success. What you want to do is you want to treat your job, especially in medical sales, as if you were creating your own business.
Check.
Right? Yep. Because if you're creating your own business, then you're more likely to build sustainable business.
Yep.
What's unsustainable, especially in my world, like blood tests, right, is every single time that I get an order, I have to show up at an office with donuts. That's unsustainable. I need them ordering when I'm not there, right? I need a protocol.
A relationship.
Right, exactly. The relationship, right? And so I think a lot of these newer reps, they have this bull in a china shop mentality, right? Where it's like, to them, it's just numbers, right? Okay, if I go to 100 accounts, 10% of them are going to order to me.
Yeah.
Instead of like an experienced rep who's like, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can about this account, the MAs, the physicians.
Sure.
I'm going to put all my time and effort into developing a relationship with them and then creating like a consistent business protocol, right?
Yeah.
Where they're going to order from you when you're not even there.
It's like, it's the infinite game.
Yep.
When you approach things as if you're your own business owner, you're thinking about, I'm going to make this client, you're not worried about the instant gratification. You understand it's delayed gratification. You understand that I identify as a medical sales rep. I identify as CEO. I identify as a mortgage loan officer, whatever your capacity is, insurance broker, I don't care what it is. You're going to be that for the rest of your life, whatever that capacity is. So in your mind, you can't think about, oh, well, I'm just going to try and get this. I'm going to try and get this money right now. Instant gratification. I don't give a fuck what it looks like.
Dopamine
I don't care.
Rush.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
And you're just worried about that.
Yeah.
That's called a finite game.
Yep.
There's a set amount of time. There's rules in place. There's a scoreboard, meaning how much money you get paid. If you take that approach, I agree with you. That's a bad sales rep. That's a bad loan officer. You're not going to be in the industry very long, and you're going to be exposed.
Right.
You have something that's going to help expose them, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second. That's
Not
just a little
expose.
teaser. Expose or help. One of the two. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. But then also you think about the infinite game. I'm trying to build this relationship forever. And no matter how many bad sales reps that have the short-term goals, like making money, no matter how many fucking boxes of donuts they bring in, they're still going to think Eddie Dix when they go to order. Not because you brought me no, it's because I have a real relationship and I'm thinking long-term. I couldn't agree more. More.
So it's funny because, so you just use the word like bad sales rep, right? So that depends on your definition of a bad sales rep, right?
Okay.
Like for me, if, we're looking at my first 2 years of being a sales rep, I was not a good sales rep.
Same.
I had maybe a couple orders, right? But I also didn't know what I was doing, right? I wasn't setting myself up for success. I had that mentality of the harder I work, the more sales I'm going to make, right? So what we've created with Check Rep, and we can go into this, we're not in a position where we're judging who is a good or a bad sales rep.
Gotcha.
Our number one motivation is to empower and help guide sales reps to create a sustainable book of business that lasts throughout their career.
Love it.
Right? So like
Love it.
we're going, like even that first video that we posted on our Instagram, right?
Yeah.
All about rep empowerment.
Yep.
I've even noticed like a lot of sales reps don't like admitting they're sales reps.
Sure.
Right? Because there is
It's
that
interesting,
stigma.
right? Sales in general.
Yeah.
As soon as that word gets out there.
And I'm actually going to quote you. You said this to me years ago.
Yeah.
When you go to a car lot,
Yeah.
you know damn well if you're going to buy a car that day.
100%.
Right? But when that sales rep walks up to you, you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I know more than you. I know
Yeah.
everything about this
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
Like, leave me alone. I'll get you when I need you. Right?
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is like, a lot of the reps that I work with, they were pre-med. They have engineering degrees.
Yeah.
Like they're intelligent people. They're having in-depth clinical conversations with physicians.
Sure.
Like this is not a sleazy career.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
you need to be very smart. You need to be very technical.
White collar, man.
Right. You need
White
to
collar.
pre-plan. And so that's one thing that like we want to change. We want to change that I don't know, I guess that viewpoint on sales. Like it is, especially like there's a difference between a sales rep and a sales professional.
I agree.
Sales
Dude, I couldn't
professionals
agree more.
are elite. If you ever talk to one,
Yes.
charismatic,
Yes.
right? They're confident, they know what they're saying, and like as you speak to
They
them,
know
you're
the
like
product.
exactly.
They know the people they're talking to.
Right.
And they identify as a sales professional, as
Right.
a pro. And you think about preparation specifically as we're talking about what makes a good sales rep or a bad sales rep or what have you. That preparation piece that you keep alluding to, that 20 minutes of preparation makes you look like a pro.
Yeah.
That's it. All you got to do, 20 minutes.
Yep.
Take a look at the client. What's like for us, take a look at the client. Take a look at their buying patterns via their credit report. Take a look at all their things that you can see. Have a good conversation with them. Do some prep work. Send an email. Go over that email with them, so on and so forth. For you guys, take a look at the physician.
Yep.
Take a look at what relationships do they currently have?
Yep.
How long has this physician had their business open? How long? I mean, you can probably a hell of a lot
Yeah.
more than I do, but that 20 minutes of preparation helps so much.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, I mean, for us, like that preparation is actually anywhere from like 3 hours to you know a whole month.
Yeah.
Right, of just gathering information.
It's a longer sales cycle.
Yeah, and so we've actually like kind of developed something to help with that. But one thing that so the co-founder is Brandon Hoover.
Let's dive in. Dude.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
talk about
yeah.
so tell the group or the viewers what is Check Rep, because
Yeah.
we've kind of been alluding to it. We're teasing a little bit.
Yeah.
What is Check Rep? You're the CEO. You're co-founder in it. Tell them exactly what it is and
Yeah.
how it's going to change the industry.
Yes, so I'm one of the co-founders along with Brandon Hoover.
Yeah.
Brandon, I actually work with Brandon. Probably one of the best sales reps I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
Don't have enough good words to say about the guy. So Check Rep is a multi-level platform that was designed to empower and incentivize reps, right? So the one thing we don't say is like, we don't like using the word bad reps, right?
Sure.
That's the only reason I said anything, because honestly, like all you have to do is bridge the gap between a sales rep and a sales professional. And that's what we're doing. We're bridging that gap through the power of, an AI work portfolio.
Yeah.
Right? Giving these
Knowledge
reps
base.
something right off the bat to where they can store their data, track their progress, securely, store contacts, things like that, and they can build an actual business for themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the idea came.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea came. I was working for a company.
Okay.
And I was doing really well. I was hitting quota. Had amazing relationships with everybody. I was leveraging my own relationships, right, to build business. And unfortunately, like out of nowhere, I just woke up one morning and they laid off all the oncology specialists.
Wow.
Right. So when that happens, yeah, right. So
Backs against the wall, got to figure something out.
yeah. So, and then when that happens, right, like you don't still have access to your work computer. They shut that down immediately.
Yeah.
Right. Because all your work and contacts, are they actually yours? Not really. They're the company's, right? They are yours, but unless you do anything to prepare for something like that, it's all gone. So I found myself in this position where I'm scrambling, trying to prove that I have these relationships, that I've hit quota month over month, and I couldn't get into the work computer. And so I'm like, okay, all I have is Excel, right? I can just list all these physicians and try to remember my numbers.
Yeah.
So
there's never been anything like that in the past. There's never been something. The only thing you can do is go apply somewhere else, and then that person calls your ex-manager. And what if that ex-manager is gone? They got laid off too. So then what do? They got to take your word for it.
Yeah.
This is genius.
Yeah. And even that process, right, of calling referrals, things like that, man, that's like, sometimes that's like, 2 months.
Yeah.
Right. And so, so I just remember like sitting there and being like, there's so much data that surrounds my performance every day, every month. Like, why aren't we actually utilizing any of it? Right.
Yeah.
And so I immediately called Brandon and I was like, hey, I have an idea. I don't know if it's anything. So we just kind of started working on it. And so we, created these core values, right, of like empowering, incentivizing, right? And so the focus of it is basically to help these reps protect themselves and do it securely.
Yeah.
So this platform, I mean, we can't stress enough, it's made by reps for reps.
Sure.
Right? But, even like if you analyze why I was laid off, right? The company I was with, they made a few bad hires, right? And so it actually costs like anywhere from like $250,000 to like $300,000 to onboard a new rep.
Yeah.
Right. So if like I was only with the company for 5 months, right? And so they give you like a 5-month bridge commission on top of your 160,000 base, right?
Sure.
So that's a lot of money. So even just laying me off, that company lost like a good 150,000, maybe like $200,000.
Yeah,
right?
They looked at the P&L, they looked at it, and they're like, all right, we have to make the decision.
Yeah, and so
especially
like
if it's a publicly traded company, I mean, they have to disclose all that information.
Right. So like, let's say I work for a company, and even if I quit, that company now has to endure those onboarding costs sooner than expected before I've even sold enough to make up for it.
Yeah.
Right. So when that happens over time, these companies are in a deficit. They're like, hey, we got to do layoffs.
Yep.
And so when we're looking at this issue, right, you don't just want to blame the reps, right? You want to look at like how they even got their jobs.
Right.
So then we started
holistically recruiting side.
Exactly.
Dude, I think too, and I don't want to forget this point. Don't want to miss it. There's 2 lessons in there that I think the audience needs to know. Number 1, when your back's against the wall, and look, you've done well for yourself, you have some cash in the bank and so on and so forth. But when your back's against the wall and you get laid off, unexpected for sure, right?
Yeah.
That's when some of the most beautiful things come to fruition.
Yep.
That's when ideas start to flow.
Yep.
There's no other option. This is my plan A. This is my plan B. The plan B goes out of the way, and you get the cards that you're dealt, and ultimately you go all in. So I think that's huge. Not a lot of people get that opportunity, because that's what that is, obviously.
Yeah.
Same thing with me.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people get that opportunity to actually expose the talents and the focus and the drive, the desire to create something out of nothing when your back's against the wall. So there's a huge lesson in there. The other lesson that it comes to mind when you're talking about this platform, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a platform. It's an empowering and incentivizing platform from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is one, it's an awesome opportunity to showcase your talents, your numbers for future hires, but also track, which I think is really cool. I know we're going to get into AI thing, but I also think it's really cool that in the medical device world that's been around for hundreds of years, because medical devices have been around for hundreds of years. Now, there hasn't been maybe this type of sexiness to it until maybe recently, just because there's a lot of money involved and so on and so forth. There's never been really a place where you can share your playbook. I know you guys going to have a lot of features on this thing, where you can share your playbook and still beat people with it. And I've said that a lot on on Leaders Lead, Winners Win, where we will give you our playbook. We will give you our numbers. We will show you how to do it, and we're still going to beat you with it, which I think is pretty cool. And I feel like there's an aspect there's a portion or a part of CheckRep that has that in it. So just 2 things.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, we took a step back. We analyzed this industry from both sides, right? So on the rep side, we're like, okay, like what can we put on the rep side, right, to really make sure that these reps feel empowered, like they have control over their book of business. Yeah. So one thing that we realized, and I don't know how anyone hasn't figured this out yet, but the resume
isn't that crazy though, Eddie?
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
What you just said is crazy, and for the audience, for the listeners, listen to this, guys.
Yeah.
there's ideas in your head, and I know where you're gonna. I not know where you're gonna go, but I just want to share this.
Yeah.
There's things in your head that you're like, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, that you downplay. Like you called your partner, you're immediately right, and you're like, hey, dude, I have an idea. One, not a lot of people call somebody else because they're worried that other person's gonna steal the idea.
Yeah.
Which 99.9% of the time it never happens because people are too scared to go into business by themselves, anyways.
Yeah.
So you guys linked up. You said, hey, I have this idea. One, two, I think a lot of times we downplay ideas because we think it's already out there, or we think that it's already been done, or somebody else is already working on it and is closer to the finish line than I am, or whatever the case is. And in all reality, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the case. You have this idea, this tech idea, this sales idea, this marketing and design idea, whatever the idea is.
Yeah.
I promise you, probably 40, 50% of the time, 1 out of every 2 might have already been done, but go pursue that thing. You see what I'm saying? Like you just said, like, I'm surprised no one's done it before. Dude, we are like, it's 2024. This technology thing's been around for 30 years. We're in the infant stages of where this tech is going. Not just tech, but just ideas and people and information moving faster than it's ever moved. Ideas flowing faster than they've ever moved. We're in the infant stages. So the things that you're thinking about in 10 years from now, like I had this idea, so I had to go off on a tangent, but I had this idea. I was a trainer too. Might not look like it, I don't look like it, all right? But I was a trainer, I was at 24 Hour Fitness. After I got out of football, I was like, dude, I got to do something. And the only thing I know how to do is work out. So I had a good book of business. I was kicking ass and taking names, 24th in Campbell, or 32nd in Camelback, 24 Hour Fitness. It was awesome. But I had this idea for a fitness app. And at the time, in 2012 and 13, there was no like fitness app like MyFitnessPal. There was no like, I would like to do bicep, I would like to do arms. And it gives you a list of workouts according to if you're looking for hypertrophy, if you're looking for more endurance, if you're looking to build muscle, and those rep ranges and set ranges, and you built in your max, and there's videos. So I had this idea, and I'm like, oh, it's already been done before. I'm an idiot, because at that point, in 2012, 13, 14, even though I had no capital, and no really know-how on how to raise capital, that has never been done at that point. Now, I mean, there's 50,000 of them. So anyways, go after that thing. No one's probably done it before. So just a thing. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. I mean, if you look at like how the average, like you're a very rare breed, right? You had an idea, started this with, Connor and Scott.
Yeah.
But like a majority of people are trained from day one to just sit in your box, right?
You're right.
You take this test, you get this letter grade, then you go here.
Then you
get this piece of paper, and this is what you're qualified to do, right?
Yeah.
And it's really only the people that are, like, I don't want to say in pain, but they've just, you know that quote, it's like most people live quiet lives of desperation.
Yeah.
Right? It's people that can't take that desperation anymore. They're like, I can't do this.
I can't do it.
Yeah, like I'm beyond this, like, and I'm gonna run with something.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's exactly what we did.
Right.
We called, Brandon had a connection with a software engineer.
So cool.
We called him, and then just little baby steps. We paid. And it was funny because at the time he had these, it's called Figma, and it's basically like an outline that an engineer uses to design a page. And we had to pay $1,000 for it. And and so Brandon and I were like, oh, are we going to do this? Like $1,000? I don't know. Yeah, we're never going to make this money back.
Yeah.
So like we did it, we saw it, and we were like, oh man, we got to run with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good idea. We did a bunch of.
Is Figma like an opportunity to like create something real quick?
It's the
like
most
a starter.
Yeah, like the most comparable thing is like when you go on Microsoft Word and they have like the resume outline. It's in Latin. Yeah, it's exactly. So it's like a web page template, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
And we just every week we would just do one little thing, and then built it up.
What's the power of little habits, man? You
Yeah.
know, you don't build like we got 20 guys and you guys are going through this tech phase, and then you're going to go on to, I don't even know if you'll need a lot of people based off when let's get into this AI thing. I'm excited about the features and stuff. But it's one little thing at a time and one idea, and then the execution of that idea. And then what do you think about this? I like this. Okay, let's do this decision. One decision, one little thing, 1 day of execution. And then over 1,000 days, you actually have a company.
Right.
And not just an idea with a website and some tech And then all of a sudden you hire your first employee, and that's how we were, dude. I like started an Instagram and then so it's really cool to see the progression. My advice to you too, because I know, because we share advice and things all the time, our friend group, is just relish in these days right now. Because it's exciting.
It goes by like that.
We do the same. I literally tell Connor all the time, I'm like, dude, we got to stop smelling the roses, baby.
Yeah.
We're worried about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. You get obsessed with it. And then it's like, dude, stop and smell the roses. Look what you're building. So
exactly.
But dude, talk to me about these features.
Yeah. So, I mean,
what you're doing with AI and this check rep.
Yeah. So basically we looked at this recruitment process, right? From both ends, like the rep side and the recruitment process, right? And it's a cycle, right? You can't blame either side, right? The whole system just needs to be revamped. So even if you're like looking at the resume is a very archaic thing, I think. Right?
I agree.
It's a Word document.
Someone needs to disrupt it.
And you know what's funny is like, so I don't know, a medical assistant has a resume. Sure. You have a resume, right? But does that mean we should be recruited the same way? No, because the characteristics of a good sales rep or just a sales rep in general, like you need to know what their personality's like. You need to hear about a time that they've overcome obstacles, right? And it's not even about the obstacle they overcame. It's about their thought process. Yeah. And that's why it's part of the interview, right? So from the rep side, right, we built this amazing work portfolio where they can securely store their data. It's not public. It's for them, right? It's for them to create a business. But then we also have 9 pre-recorded virtual interview questions, right? So like if you go to a company's career page, right, they have an ATS system. It's an applicant tracking system. Yeah. And half the time you apply with your resume, no person is looking at it. There's an ATS system that just filters it out, right? But you can't really have that with medical reps. Like you got to talk to them, right? You got to hear their stories. You got to like know what their personality's like, even like what they look like. Yeah. Right.
I agree.
So like with the virtual interviews, like these reps can pre-record virtual interview questions and apply to jobs off of our website so that like when you send it in, they can basically speed date you. They can watch, and these are very in-depth interview questions, right? 9 virtual interview questions.
Things that did you collaborate on the other side? Because look, you're bridging the problem that you're solving is bridging the gap, just like you said, right? We talked about this. So bridging the gap between sales rep and great company or recruiting or whatever the case is, you're building that gap. Did you get with recruiters on these 9 questions? This is awesome.
Oh man, we've talked to everybody. And actually one of my favorite quotes, shout out to Liz Reynolds. So she's a senior director at a company called Biodesics. Okay. And she was like, if I could have a glass of wine and watch 8 virtual interview questions and look at their performance data, non-proprietary, right? Performance data. And then like we have a QR code on the website. Yeah. They scan their QR code. I can get you as a doctor to write me a review, proving my relationship with you.
Oh, genius.
Right? Therefore, I'm like, if I'm getting
accredited.
If I'm getting recruited by a company, I'm like, look, I work with these doctors at, Honor Health. Right. Therefore, I'm more likely to convert them, right? She's like, if I could look at all of this, and she literally lifted up a stack of resumes. It was like, instead of reading through these and trying to figure out who's who and have a glass of wine, just watch them. She's like, I would do that all day.
It's like a teacher grading papers in 2002 versus now in 2024. That's genius. Yeah, it really is.
On the AI side, it's crazy too. So like we haven't implemented this yet. Yeah. But like the next steps in our AI integration, this is crazy, right? If you want to get into this,
I love it. Because we're doing a lot of shit too. So I'm excited.
So there's a AI program that will give you a validated personality assessment based off of the videos that they're recording. Like it measures their tone. Like I don't even want to speak about it because I will probably say something wrong. Yeah. But it will give you a validated personality assessment based off of like a certain length of videos.
The personality assessments, you said 2 things, just to touch on it real quick. It's super important. You say like these really important things and you're talking so intellectual and you're just moving on from thing to thing, which is great. But you're totally good. The personality assessment thing is a huge deal. Not because you want just like-minded individuals inside of your organization, which you do. You also want a little bit of diversity so you can have good conversation, the yin to your yang. But to your point about there's $1 trillion lost inside of people losing voluntary turnover, right?
In the U.S., yeah.
in the U.S. businesses. Think about that. Every year, $1 trillion.
It's crazy.
The country right now is $33 trillion in debt. That's 33 years of voluntary turnover, and we're in even more debt. Anyways, not really, but anyways, just for perspective. But to decrease that or minimize that at any cost, however much it costs, is super, super, super important. And a part of that is a couple things. I think one, a personality test. What does that look like? I'm an employer. As an employer, I want to see what that, like, we're never, our thing, we're so scared. This is so good. So we're so nervous to make the same mistakes that other people have made. Mm-hmm. And we learn a lot from the people that come before us. Everybody can learn. So we have conversations with people that have built companies and sold them, or still are working through companies and maybe went from 500 people to 30 people, or whatever the case is. What are the mistakes, so on and so forth? Yeah. What are the big mistakes that a couple of CEOs I've talked to is they hire off these Indeed or Monster or whatever the case is.
Yep.
Because the not interview process, but because the resume process or the job listing process is so shallow, and it's an inch deep and a mile wide, because you're answering all these questions, but they're not deep questions. They're not go deep questions. That's why the turnover is so high. So they made many mistakes hiring people that they probably shouldn't have. We've made a decision until we can fix it. Hopefully your tech helps that, right?
Yes. Yeah, we'll
hopefully
see.
Checkmate does. Yeah. We made a decision. We're only going to hire through referrals. We will not hire anybody at our company unless it's a referral of somebody, and then we have to do the interview process. So the personality test is huge. The second thing that you said is how they look.
Yeah.
I have never, I think we both agree. You like to work out?
Yeah.
I like to work out.
Yep.
I like taking care of my body.
Yep.
Not in a vain way, but I like the way I feel. I like the way it makes me look. As vain it is what it is. I like to be healthy. I want to be around for a while. I want to have kids. I want to be vitality, all this stuff. I've never met somebody sustainably, month in and month out, somebody that is a top performer that is not in good shape.
Couldn't agree more.
I haven't. Because I've been in a lot better shape than I'm in now. I've been in a lot worse shape than I'm in now. And I've ran and successful teams, and every single time that I look back, whether it be a larger team, a smaller team, our company now, whatever it is, like our company now has lost 320 pounds collectively over the last 12 months.
That's awesome.
14 months.
Yeah.
It's awesome, dude. We have guys that lose 60 pounds, 40 pounds, 30 pounds. A guy literally just started 2 months ago.
Can Connor even lose weight anymore?
No, he can't. Yeah. He's at -% body fat.
Yeah.
And he's like running 13 miles a day right now. It's incredible. But a guy just started, he was at 257 pounds. He weighed in today at 233. He started 2 months ago. That's not because, it's just because of the environment. My point is, though, you said those two things, personality tests and appearance, those two things matter. And if you can create some sort of platform like you guys did to help bridge that gap, so that ultimately the employer like us, or the employer like the gal that you just mentioned, can make an educated decision based off those two things, along with everything else, is going to be huge. Yeah. It's going to be huge, dude.
Yeah, and even on like the incentive side, so Brandon's in charge of this. So we have this really cool feature built in. It's just a fun feature, right? Yeah. And it's a competition section. So like we're posting like weekly competitions.
Oh, that's cool.
For monetary prizes, right? You can win like, golf hat, whatever. And then we have big cash prizes as well. So like even during our competitions, one thing that we're promoting is physical exercise. Right?
That's awesome.
Whoever can run the most miles, right? And it's by like territory and everything. So whoever, checks into their gym the most, or like things like that, right? Anything physical. Cause like it just shows like that you have discipline on all fronts, right?
Yes.
You can't just have discipline when you're at work. You have to have discipline out of work.
I agree.
And it's funny. I had like, go ahead. So I was just in Miami for this thing, and one of the guys, he had a friend that was going to boot camp. And so he's like, oh, can he call you and talk to you? And one thing I said to him today, I was like, it's really interesting most people go their entire lives without like feeling any pain or pressure.
I agree.
Right? They just kind of like coast through. And so I was like, so what you're going to notice is when you're going through like intense pressure, intense pain, like maybe you're in combat, whatever, when you get out, your ability to push through pain and like persevere and handle anxiety is just like heightened, right? You can get through it, right? And so that physical exercise in the morning where you're forcing yourself to get up, do a cold plunge, like go running and everything, it translates into your work. And like people don't realize that.
It really does. It really does. And the reason why it does is because that mental anguish, that dragon that you're slaying, whether it be a workout in the morning or combat or whatever that thing is that you're getting through that you don't want to do. One, there's a new study out. Huberman just came out with this and talked to Goggins about it. But the things that you don't want to do that you do, you actually create new brain synapses and new brain connections, brain cell connections. Super cool.
Gets easier.
It gets easier. Yeah. But there's this thought process when you're going through the shit or you're going through the suck that ultimately, if you've gone through suck before, you know you're going to be okay coming out on the other end, and you get this feeling of I've been there before. Yeah. And you can get through. You feel like you can get through anything. It also increases something. So I just dropped an episode. I'm dropping an episode this week on eight core leadership skills that I think great leaders have. Yeah. And one of which is bandwidth, meaning I have the ability and the range to go through a varied of different exercises, different things that you have to go through, different emotions that you have to go through, and you understand each one. You have a big range of emotional intelligence, and you have the bandwidth to go from one thing to the next, even though it might suck. So, but anyways, I couldn't agree with you more on that whole thing on physical fitness, and it's really cool to have an actual competition section. One of our core pillars, so yours is incentivization, empowering, right? One of ours is competitive greatness. Like you can't build a company, you can't build a tech, you can't build platforms, you can't build social media, you can't build anything without some sort of competition. Right. Because we're all in competition, dude. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You can say you're not, and you can say, oh, I compete with myself and so on and so forth. The reality is, in the real world, there is no participation trophies. No, in your world specifically, there's no participation trophies.
I mean, your company might give you a mug, but you're like, oh, thanks. Yeah, I brought in $2 million of business. Thanks for the towel.
Thanks for the towel, which is cool. Thanks for the polo. Yeah, it's OGO polo that's oversized. That I hate. Like, I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But there's a lot of competition, especially in the sales world in general, but the medical device sales that you're in. Yeah. And it's really cool that you guys are you able to post on your, and this is just a question for me, and then I got some challenges and stuff like that, but when you're able to create like a resume or create like who you are, your profile and so on and so forth, is there an opportunity for folks to put their accolades on there and the things that they've learned? Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, so the whole platform is designed so that you can like shine, but you can shine with your data. Yes. Right? So you can get physician reviews. You post your awards, right? You post your certifications.
It's really hard to get physician reviews, by the way. It has to be.
It is.
Well, I don't know.
Well, so it doesn't even have to be a physician, right? So like any medical rep listening to this knows MAs are, if not more important than the physician. Really? Because they're the ones that dictate everything. They're the ones that actually do the ordering.
They're the gatekeeper.
So if like I meet with an MA and she says to the physician, hey, we should try out this company, the physician will do it.
Trust
for sure. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Cool. Okay, that's awesome.
So like even getting an MA review, right?
For a well-known physician
for an account, right? So it has their name, it has, and then they get like an email confirmation that they wrote the reviews, right? Yeah. And create transparency and integrity,
and trust.
Right?
The reason why I said it has to be, not that it is, but that it has to be, is because like, again, I'm just relating in business, but like it's hard for us to get clients that we like are giving them money at the best rate and the best costs and the fastest process and all this shit. Yeah. And then we're like, hey, can you just take 2 seconds and give us a 5-star review with any commentary? We do a really good job of it. Yeah. But it's hard to get. I can only imagine in the busy world of a physician to get a review. So if a rep on CheckRep has a review, that's in my opinion, it's a big fucking deal.
They took time out of their day to write the review.
That's where I was going
for
with
sure.
That. Yeah.
No, 100%. For sure. Yeah, they took time out of their day to write that for you. Yeah. And that like as a rep, you're only as valuable as your relationships, right?
I agree.
And so like if you look at some of these resumes that companies get, like it's just fabricated, right? And again, like we're not trying to out anybody. Sure. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to create transparency, but we're also trying to empower both sides. Yeah. We want to make sure that the companies are not putting themselves in a position to have turnover, and we want to make sure that these reps are in a position where they're like leveraging themselves into higher paying positions. They're like, hey, look at my performance, right? And every single performance data point, they put their director's information. The director gets a confirmation. They
Yeah.
confirm, right, via email. And so like that's how we validate the data.
I think the coolest thing, man, and in my opinion, the most valuable asset we have on this earth is time.
Yeah.
You can't buy more of it. You can't go back in time.
Yep.
And you guys are saving a lot of time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's the most valuable thing that you're bringing to the desk.
Yeah.
Not only the money on the recruiting side, but you're saving and bridging this gap of time. Like not only time to start a new career for the rep, not only time because you don't want to waste 4 or 5 months and then get laid off or whatever the case is, but you're bridging that gap. And it's really, I keep saying that, but it's really cool because you're saving a lot of people's time. And this thing that we're doing right now, this ain't no dress rehearsal. You only get one shot at it.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you believe in. I know we both go to the same church, but
Yeah.
you only get one shot at this thing called life. This isn't a dress rehearsal. So if you can limit the amount of mistakes or time wasted, then it's going to be an unbelievable success. It really is.
Yeah.
In whatever capacity that is, whether it be a company or whether it be or a company with the tech that you guys are building. It's really fucking cool.
So speaking of saving time, we are developing this feature right now utilizing AI,
Sweet.
right? So we were kind of like alluded to the pre-call planning,
Yeah.
right? How, it could take up to, a month, right? To gather a bunch of information. And that information is like scattered across a bunch of different platforms, right?
Okay.
So like I'm going to Health Grades or PubMed, right? To look up research articles. So in 2 months, we will have completed a AI pre-call planning tool.
That's so awesome.
So right you go in, you pull up to an account, it pulls up a physician's name, right? Or you input the physician's NPI, the physician's name, and it puts together a pre-call plan depending on what stage of the sales process you are.
Wow.
So first interaction, are you upselling? Are you following up after like an initial meeting? In the pre-call plan, it has probing questions. It has like research articles, and then it will even help you generate questions based off the research articles.
Sure.
So if you're a doctor, you wrote a research article, I go in there, I'm like, hey, I read your article. Like, you mind if I ask you a couple questions about it? Oh man, they love it.
Yeah, of course.
They're like, damn, you took the time to read my article? Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So like, right, we're trying to increase user engagement on the platform, right? And so like this tool that we're developing is unseen right now.
That's awesome.
Unseen, right? Where we've condensed that pre-call planning from, 3 days, a month into about like 10 seconds. You get everything you need.
Think about like the end user. Like I'm thinking about it in my mind. So I'm thinking about challenges that you're facing or you're going to face. And I was thinking about like the end user. The end user, the one that benefits the most is going to be probably, I don't know, there's a couple ways I can go with this, but the physician specifically. And when you're talking about doing a pre-call planning, the physicians are going to want to take more appointments and take more meetings with.
Because it'll be more meaningful.
Because they're going to spend more time. And again, you're giving them the playbook. That is a playbook.
Yep.
And obviously you're a competitive guy. You're still going to kick ass. But you're giving them the playbook via this technology to pre-plan.
Yep.
The MA and the physician, the office, the company, whatever, is going to benefit greatly from it and vastly from it because you're not going to waste their time. It's going to be more meaningful. The depth is going to be there.
Yep.
It might be a couple inches wide, but it'll be a mile deep, which is what you're looking for, which I think is really cool.
And so like even like I can pull up my expense report. I submit an expense report for $2,500. That's all lunches, right?
Yeah.
So like these companies, like on top of paying you, right? They're paying you to go and give your best shot at a doctor's office. Right? Which is going to cost them, like some of these offices are like 30 people. That's a $500 lunch.
Yeah.
Right? And this company's trusting that like you've done your due diligence.
Wow.
You're going in there with a purpose, right? So we're also like taking a little bit of that risk out, right?
Yeah.
Where you
From
can
the company.
from the company and the rep,
medical,
right?
yeah, of
so
course.
like you can like look at this pre-call plan and see like, oh, okay, they accept these insurances. Is this a good fit? Is this worth us investing a 30-person lunch for you to go in there?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then like instead of, this one thing I always hated, right? It was the pre-call plan, right? So I can generate 5 pre-call plans. I can have a game plan every single day. I can justify why I'm going to see this physician to my like director or whoever. And then even like, at the lab level or your corporate level, they hire doctors, like we have like Dr. Larry Weiss, he's our chief medical officer, right? He probably knows some of these physicians. So like just getting that information, you're submitting it to your director. They're like, hey, like this is great. Dr. Weiss worked with this physician at so-and-so.
Yeah.
It just like streamlines the process, right?
Yeah.
It reduces risk even a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That's still a win,
Yeah.
So.
I think AI specifically, you talk about like, you're talking about taking the risk out of there and this pre-planned stuff. And you said the word, I hated doing it. And I think it's funny because a lot of things that we hate as entrepreneurs, we tend to find fixes for pretty fucking fast, excuse my French. But it's pretty cool too. So you think about AI, you think about this pre-planned thing, you hated that, now you're creating this, giving your own spin, and the AI isn't just generated out of thin air, it's because you're putting the actual prompts in it, which I think is really cool too, and letting it take from there. I guess a thought process, or one thing that I would say is, I want your feedback or maybe a question. If I'm on the rep side and I'm putting my resume, my accolades, this 9 interview questions, I'm looking at reviews and so on and so forth. What's it to not, like, I'm gonna put my best foot out there, just like you always would on any sort of recruiting, right? How do you mitigate and really regulate what they're putting on there to make sure that it's true? 'Cause again, you're you're trying to solve for transparency. You are solving for, not trying. Solving for transparency. You're solving for trust. You're solving for time. 3 T words. How do you have and make sure that these guys and gals on the rep side aren't just putting a bunch of bullshit out there to get recruited?
So I always kind of answer this question with a statement, and it's, if you cheat on your taxes, you can go to prison, right? Does that stop people from cheating on their taxes?
No, not at all.
Actually, it's yes and no.
Okay.
Right? Some people, it does. And then some people, no, it doesn't. Right? So we can't eradicate dishonesty, but what we can do is lessen it. So like when someone's putting in their monthly percent to quota, we're having them put in their director's information, their director's email, and then we validate. We send a confirmation email to their director, even follow up via phone call, like if we had to, and then they confirm, right? So we're getting their work email. It's, it's
that makes sense.
one
That's
thing
what I
that
was
we
looking
can
for.
do, right? But then
answer.
also like with that percent to quota, you have the reference there. So like if you're voluntary giving, like, and that's non-proprietary information. Like you can say what your percent to quota was monthly, right? So if you're applying for a job, they can call your director, right? And they'll know pretty quickly, like whether or not it's your boy, right? So again, it's like, we can't stop people. People are always like, I find a way around things, right? That's how we created this. But what we can do is we can lessen it.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And then like, even with all of this extra information that we're giving, we're just painting a bigger picture for these people.
I agree. What about, we talked about this earlier, but you're like, I can't believe no one's done this before. What do you think about competition? Is there competition out there? Is there something out there that looks like this? Or are you guys completely breaking down the industry and FSU?
So I mean, if you look at like a lot of these other platforms, like even like LinkedIn, right? Like LinkedIn's essentially just
great job.
It's resume Facebook. You know what I mean? It's a great it's an amazing it's the best platform out there. But it's resume Facebook, right? And it includes every single job field, everyone is on there, right? Whereas we are so niche where we're catering to this one specific market. Right now we don't have any competition. Right? We don't. But it's more like every single thing that we put into this, we have put ourselves, like we are the consumer, right? Which helps, right? It's not like I work in mortgages, right? I'm trying to make something. So like everything that we're putting into this, we're like, I would use this every day. You know what I mean? Right. And like, this is good. And so keeping it niche, right? Keeping it like very specific is just like really helped us. And we've basically cornered the market on it.
Dude, I'm telling you right now. So there's something in business, a few rules. One is keep the main thing the main thing. And I think a lot of folks really try and diversify and try and do all these different things. Dude, I'm good at writing loans and leading people. So I'm going to start a mortgage company. You are in the sales, the medical device sales place. You saw a broken window. Keep the main thing the main thing. So you say it's niche and we're just focusing on this field. you're focusing on that field because you're so passionate about it, because it's been your life for the last more than almost more than half a decade. And it becomes organic because you're trying to solve a problem, again, that you said that you can use every single day.
Yeah.
And that other people can recognize you for down the road because you've made their life easier and saved them time and money and so on and so forth.
Right.
So that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about going into, and I know I said just keep it there, the main thing. Are you thinking about going into the other industries long term?
Yeah. So long term,
after
definitely.
you actually nail this, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. After we nail this, right? And it's funny. So before we even started this process, our CTO, his name's Chase, lead engineer for Intuit, helped design TurboTax. Like, he's just absolute stud, right? And he was like, what you're going to notice about this process, right? You're going to come in with all these big ideas. He's like, I'm going to narrow the hell out of it. He's like, to the point where it's going to piss you off.
Yes.
He's like, I'm going to say nope until you guys get this little tunnel vision. And that is like, I give so much credit to him for getting us to this point.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's just he's seen this all day.
Yeah.
People come in with these big, wild ideas and he's like, listen, like, you got to focus up a little bit.
Dude, business partners in general, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's Connor for us, because I'm like, fucking look at this.
Yeah,
and all this stuff. Not like different things. It's all mortgage related. It's all vertically integrated. It's all the same thing, but it's not solar. It's not real estate. It's just mortgage. But I'll come with a crazy idea. Like, we have this idea. We're probably going to roll it out. He doesn't like it, but I'm going to self-fund it. But we're going to do like a summer giveaway in marketing. And I, am the CEO, but I'm also the chief marketing officer. I love that shit. It's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
But we're going to do the summer giveaway. And he's like, yeah, let's do this, and this first. We got a new office, like slow pump and brakes. But you need, in business partnership, you need the yin to your yang. You can't go into business with somebody that's the same person as you. Yeah. Because it's just going to be all yes. There's not going to be any checks and balances. And they have to bring something else to the table. So like, if you're good at organization and you're good at processes and so on and so forth, then the person on the other side, your business partner, needs to be good with vision and where the company's going and goal setting and so on and so forth. And then you need an engineer guy, like a CTO, a chief medical officer, because that gives you credibility. So it's really cool to hear that you have those guys.
So like Brandon Hoover, right? It's crazy how we have just fallen into our roles. I'm the CEO.
It should happen naturally.
I'm the CEO, but Brandon is the real leader.
Yeah.
Like, behind the scenes, this kid organizes everything. I'm really good at this.
Yeah.
I'm really good at talking to people. I'm really good at raising money. Right. I'm really good at like spreading the word, getting on videos, on camera, things like that. He's really good at just organization, right? Getting things flowing, getting, the proper communication to our engineers. Yeah. And obviously we collaborate on everything, but he's like the yin to my yang.
That's awesome.
We just work together so well.
Yeah.
So I know that like whatever he's doing a great job. Right.
Yeah. Speaking of that, raising money and so on and so forth, I mean, we're going to have viewers watch this. Are you guys bootstrapping? Are you looking for investors? I know you guys are doing well, and you guys are kicking ass and taking names. Yeah. What does that look like? So maybe you might have someone reach out.
So the AI pre-call planning, it's called Rep Prep AI. So it's actually a division of CheckRep.
That's sick.
Yeah. So we did that strategically, right? Like, we wanted it kind of like as its own separate product, but we wanted CheckRep to house it.
Sure.
Right. So like, as far as funding, I mean, our goal is to potentially sell, but like, it's too early on to even like make that decision. Right.
You're going to put everything into it, your heart, soul, and it's going to be your baby, and then you're going to let that baby out of the house. Same thing you do with a kid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you put everything into it for 18 years, and then you get it out of the
we've
house.
Funded everything on our own. The reality is we don't need money. Yeah. Right? If somebody approached us and they were bringing value to the table, we would definitely take the meeting. Yeah. For sure.
Perfect.
Right?
Yep.
But like, we funded it all ourselves, so we've like, to this point, we've done it right.
Best part.
We own it. Yes. It's ours. Good. Right? If you want to come to us, like, bring value, we'll always open to a conversation.
Yeah, cool.
Always. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Dude, what's next? What do you guys got? Yeah, where are you guys at? What's next? What do you do? I know there's obviously, you guys are in the developmental stage, which is the best part, the building stage, you're building blocks, you built this foundation, you're building the house, and now you guys are going to start to see a lot of users, I think, drive to the platform. Do you have a plan for that? I know you talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we have a whole like marketing campaign scheduled. We have, we just worked with this video marketing guy. We have about like 20 videos.
I saw
sitting
the
on
first
standby.
Dude, that was sick.
Yep. Yeah. So
job.
that's the empowerment video.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're not a sleazy rep.
Yeah.
Like, you're a stud.
That was
You
sweet.
get out there, you get up every day, you take shit, but you keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so like that was important to us, right? That we support these reps and we make them feel like, hey, like we have your back. Because honestly, like even like in my position now, nobody has my back.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about me, right?
It's cutthroat, man.
Yeah, like
how
if I'm not making
businesses-
quota, they're not even going to remember my name when I'm gone in a month, you
100%.
know?
The
so
big wheels will keep on turning.
yeah, we want to be there to like boost you up and be like, hey, we got you. Look what you've created for yourself. You can bring this to the table for someone else.
Yeah.
Right? Not an Excel document, not your busted ass resume.
Yeah.
Right? This has your
Love it.
picture. This has reviews. This has like pre-recorded virtual interview questions. This is like your all-encompassing work portfolio. Use it, you know?
Do you know how many, just out of curiosity, do you know how many like medical device sales reps there are across the U.S.?
Yeah. So our
Figured
target.
An idea.
Oh man. So I think, man, I see this slide in my head.
Yeah.
Right, with the number.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a ton. I mean, obviously,
there's like
the target marketplace has to be a huge number, and it's growing every day. So it could be less or more. But I didn't know if it was.
You know, so our target audience is a total of 1.2 million, but that includes
incredible.
tech recruiters, tech reps, medical reps,
Sure.
pharma reps. I want to say it's like is total reps maybe 300 to 500,000.
Yeah,
I'm
somewhere
not
around
sure.
there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
Which is
because
pretty
again, that's
great.
only one
Yeah.
side of it. I'm just thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, there's.
Yeah.
The cool thing is too is you think in the future, like this is going to be allowed to be looked at from guys like you and I. Well, you graduated. I didn't. Right out of college.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks, man, that don't know what the fuck they're gonna do after college.
Yeah.
And they're great dudes. They're in, maybe a frat, or they played ball, or these chicks that have great followings and they're great communicators, and they want to get into medical device or medical pharma or whatever the case is, some sort of sales rep. They're going to be able to look at this, look at what other people do, see what quotas look like, see what average incomes look like based off of projections, so on and so forth. They're going to be able to make more educated decisions on getting into your industry because this is here.
Yeah, and so that's
cool.
so you asked like what's next. So there's multiple medical sales colleges, and one thing that I noticed, like
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had no clue.
It's like a whole degree now.
Badass.
Yeah. It's like a whole degree now.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I
so
learn something new every day. It's
this-
fucking sick.
yeah, it's wild, man. And so like this,
a mortgage loan officer. Fucking.
yeah.
Hold on a second. I'm just kidding.
But like getting out of the military, right?
Yeah.
Like if shout out to my boys, but
Yeah.
like I saw a lot of guys just kind of accept mediocrity, right? They didn't even like use the GI Bill.
Yeah.
Like that's like $200,000, right?
It's a lot.
Yeah, like they didn't use it, right? And so like even the transition out of the military,
Yes, dude.
it's an hour-long class. It's like I forget what it's called, but it's like an hour-long class. They just throw a bunch of stuff at you. You do this, this, and this, and this, right? They don't care. You're getting out of the military. You're not worth anything to them anymore.
Are you talking about the transition out?
Yeah, like when you're transitioning out of the military, right? So like for me, it's important because I know like a lot of guys that like just that mentality that we were talking about, right? Like pushing through pain, right?
Some
Being
adversity.
disciplined. Military guys are some of the best dudes to hire.
I agree.
Or females, right? Because they say yes. And that's like one thing my boss said about me. She's like, I never have to ask you to do anything twice. I tell you to do something, you just do it, right? And so like, helping those veterans transition out of the military, like into medical sales college, and then like helping set themselves up for like the rest of their career is something that like we really want to get involved in.
Yeah.
So we plan on, putting together like a transition assistance program, right?
That's
Where
awesome.
we're like assisting these veterans to, find something they're passionate about, develop their personality skills. Like you spend 4 years like telling jokes with your friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can go into an office and make somebody laugh like you're in,
We got to make sure you're going to stay off of college campuses. You can't go back. Dude.
Yeah.
They're not going to allow you back.
Yeah, I know. I'd be like, who's this guy?
Who's this guy? Yeah, no, but dude, that's really cool. And I think that the best vets that I've ever worked alongside, I'm wearing a Ranger shirt. This is a Pat Tillman tribute, but I'm not a veteran. But the best veterans, and Robbie is an Army vet, but we talk about it all the time. They're point and shoot. You tell them what to do, they get it done. Execution, execute. Chad Wright talks about that all the time. He's on Andy's podcast all the time. He's a
Yeah.
stud SEAL. But they execute. The best ones that I've ever worked with ever in my life is someone like yourself, someone like Robbie that has a creative side, but then also can execute.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to kind of reel that in
Yeah.
and try and harness that energy
Just
as
work
guys
dogs.
are coming out. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool, dude. Right on. Well, it's been fun.
Yeah. Dude, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. We're gonna have you back. I mean, it is what it is. We're gonna do a lot more
Love
of this
it.
stuff. We got the
Yeah.
new office coming out. I know I told you, but for the group,
Yeah, man. I mean, when are you guys moving in?
dude, holy shit, no one knows this, so it's not gonna come out probably for a week or two. So this will be cool.
Yeah.
We are gonna get the keys May 13th.
Oh, nice.
Which is sick. So we'll have access to it for 18 days before the actual first day of June 1st is gonna be in there.
Yeah.
It's 5,600 square foot. We got 20 guys right now. We should have a class of 5 coming in June, which
Yeah.
is sick. And the goal is to get to like 30-ish guys, like 10 more total, the right way the first time.
Yep.
We don't have check rep.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to figure it out. But the right way the first time through referrals and so on and so forth and vetting people out. Interviews. I want an interview today. Go to Lloyd's
Yeah.
lunch and vet this guy out. We're going to hire him. But
Nice.
get that to that point. But we're going to have a couple different views. We have this mural. I told you a little bit about it. We also have a dedicated media room, so we're going to have that in there. So we'll put all this stuff in there. So it'll be really cool. So we'll have you back.
Oh, man. I
if you
love
wanna
that.
come
Yeah.
back.
Just do me one favor, though.
Yeah.
Can you put AC in the podcast room?
It's a little warm.
I'm sweating.
Hey, baby.
Yeah.
That's just because we
I'm
made this
sweating,
hot.
yeah.
All right, boys and girls. Thank you so much for watching. Follow. Where can they find you, by the way?
So it's
'Cause
checkrep_incorporated.
Okay.
www.checkrep.io.
.io. Cool.
.io.
Find you, and then
Yep.
if they want to follow the Dix Man.
Follow, send us a message.
Yeah.
You need more information. Yeah.
Cool. Stay tuned for another episode. It's going to come out pretty quick after this one as well. We have another unboxed episode with our boy, Mr. Chris Boats, coming in
Nice.
soon, which is exciting. Stay tuned. If you haven't already, follow us, subscribe, and share the show. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, buddy. Good job, man.